You're listening to The Manning Report with your host, James David Manning. The news behind the headlines.
At this hour here in The Manning Report, we want to address the issue to impeach or not to impeach, because we have two camps now in America calling out each one of those dictums. One, impeach him; the other, do not impeach him. Let me set the stage here by stating that in early November or late October of the year 2015, I, along with Sabbath LaFleur, went down to Trump Tower on Fifth Avenue, and we met with, at the time, candidate Donald Trump, Michael Cohen, and a host of other pastors and preachers from around the nation, discovering whether or not to endorse and put our backing behind the then candidate Tribulation Trump, or Donald Trump at the time. And while there, I gave him my full-throated endorsement and went on to state that I was going to put together a coalition of Harlem for Trump. I was also going to put together a coalition of college students for Trump, and to do a great big program and promotion. Trump brought out his Bible stating that he was saved. I realize his language was quite inadequate for full salvation in terms of the way we interpret it. I was very much cognizant of the fact that he'd called for the death penalty of the Central Park Five, and it was my intention to address him on that issue. But the thing that caused me to give my full-throated support to Tribulation Trump was that he had been a birther. And I had given my life and the well-being of this church over to birtherism, as they say. That I declared that, as God has shown me, that Obama was not a natural-born citizen, that his presidency was illegal. And when making that statement, most of the members of the congregation I had worked for 25 years to build up, praying with, visiting prisons and hospitals, and dedicating babies and performing marriages and doing the work of a pastor and evangelist, most of those members left, and that 25-year work that I had evaporated because of Obama. We had some young men in our church that we have given great grace to and had trusted and had done a whole lot of things for as young men. But when Obama came, they thought he was of God, that he was God-like. They believed that he was going to save and change the world, that things were going to be, that they just could not understand why I was opposing him. And the devil got in them, and they raised themselves up against me in a way that is beyond vicious, how they attacked me, seeing how much they loved Obama. But I want to say as well that because of my full support as we go through impeachment or not to impeach of Tribulation Trump, that God has now named him, that a member of our church, along with Sabbath LaFleur, wrote and performed the song, The Trump Train. I'm going to ask the engineer to bring a little bit of that song up for us at present. I'm not sure the background music of it or how it goes. But we own the...
Join him, join the Trump train, the Donald Trump train. People all over the world.
All right, okay, Mr. Engineer, we own the rights to that song. The ATLAH World Missionary Church owns the rights to that song. And Trump played it in his campaign at his rallies. You probably heard it. I think it may have been played even at the convention in Cleveland. But when we vehemently opposed Trump and withdrew, they stopped using that song. But our church is responsible, and we own the rights to that song. The Trump Train is performed by Sabbath LaFleur. You all know Sabbath. I want to establish that before I get into the discussion about whether Trump should be impeached or whether not to impeach, or whether Trump is the best president or the worst president. But I wanted to lay the groundwork. Also want to preface here that I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a liberal. Some may say I'm a conservative. I would rather say I'm a biblical man of God. A righteous man is what I would prefer to be called. But let me say as well, with respect to the fact that to impeach or not to impeach Trump after Mueller's statement on yesterday, and we're going to go over the efficacy of those statements and the poignant segments of those statements, and we're going to let you know what the meaning is without interpretation. But before I drop my statements regarding to impeach or not to impeach, I want to further state that I am not a member of the Democrat Society. I'm not a member of the liberal group. I'm not a member of the NAACP or any of those groups that are associated with opposition in a political way to Tribulation Trump. I am not. Moreover, it's one thing that I'm not, but can I ask you to come up close? I want to share something with you about the Democrats, about the liberals, about the LGBTQ community, about the NAACP, and about others that are part of that entire conclave or enclave, if you will, of political ideologies. They have here in New York City, where I'm at, I'm in Harlem of New York City, but they have unanimously as a group committed, because of the things I've said primarily about Trump and about LGBTQ, they have made a commitment that they're going to shut our church down. Elizabeth awakened me on yesterday and told me that she'd gotten a call from several people regarding our statements on the announcement board of our church, and they said emphatically that they're going to shut this church down, that the work that we do is not agreeable to them. In fact, if they loathe it, they see it as a threat, and they have threatened, and this threat has lasted now for 12 years, that the Democrats, I'm talking about the Maxine Waters, I'm talking about the Kamala Harrises, I'm talking about the Bill de Blasio. I'm talking about the Cory Bookers. I'm talking about the Nancy Pelosi's. I'm talking about the Al Sharptons. I'm talking about the Obamas. I'm talking about the Jesse Jacksons. They have all made a commitment that they're going to shut this church down and run me out of town. That's how they feel about me. So you need to understand that I'm not on the Democrat side. I'm not with them. They want to stop my very existence. And they've used everything within their powers to be able to stop our ministry. They've gone throughout the community, and in terms of evangelism, trying to get anyone to rebuild or join our church in terms of rebuilding after the evaporation of 25 years of work. Those people went a whoring after Obama. I mean, when I came out against Obama, 25 years of work went down the drain. They all left. And they praised Obama. And then I was attacked. I mean, I could hardly believe these young men were attacking me because of their deep love for Obama. But Obama never fed them the way I did. Obama never worked with them, gave to them, supported them, allowed them to live in my home. Obama never did any of those things, but they loved Obama and thought it was their appointed duty to destroy me, and that's what they set out to do. So I'm no friend of the Democrats. I want you to be clear about that. The last thing I thought I would ever say would use the term fake news. But I have to tell you, the media has been after me for 12 years. More recently, wrote a hit piece on me. I mean, my God, they set out in a 28-page treatise to destroy. Nothing but lie after lie after lie after lie after lie after lie, and more lies, and then more lies after those lies. 28 pages of lies. Total fake news. And their attempt to destroy this beautiful church, its children, is in its future, and did not write one positive thing of the things that we've done as good journalism dictates. I mean, come on, write something good. No, it was a hit job, fake news. Last thing I thought I'd ever say, I'm trying to help you understand that I'm not a Democrat. Now, I'm not a Republican either, but I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Nancy Pelosi follower. I'm not a Gerald Nadler follower. No, I'm not any of those. But I want to talk to you about Tribulation Trump. I want to say some things to you about him. And then I'm going to let you go on about your business. I figure you got some things to do and you don't want to listen to a long tape here today. But after Robert Mueller's statements on yesterday, I've come to a conclusion. In Robert Mueller's statement, I've got the full transcript, but in Robert Mueller's statement, in his opening remarks of that 9-minute speech, Robert Mueller affirmed after 2 years of investigating that there was Russian interference, that it was not a hoax, it was not a witch hunt, that there was demonstrative, sweeping, systematic Russian interference in our 2016 election. Mr. Engineer, would you pop clip number 1 for us so the people can have it documented in their hearing?
Let me begin where the appointment order begins, and that is interference in the 2016 presidential election. As alleged by the grand jury in an indictment, Russian intelligence officers who were part of the Russian military launched a concerted attack on our political system. The indictment alleges that they used sophisticated cyber techniques to hack into computers and networks used by the Clinton campaign. They stole private information and then released that information through fake online identities and through the organization WikiLeaks. The releases were designed and timed to interfere with our election and to damage a presidential candidate. And at the same time, as the grand jury alleged in a separate indictment, a private Russian entity engaged in a social media operation where Russian citizens posed as Americans in order to influence an election.
Now, Tribulation Trump needs to recant his Helsinki statements that he stated that he believed Vladimir Putin against the 17 intelligence agencies and Dan Coates as the director of national intelligence. They were at that meeting in Helsinki going back a year ago. Russia did meddle and interfere in our election, and Robert Mueller has so stated. And Tribulation Trump needs to stop calling it a witch hunt and a hoax. He also needs to stop saying that it was a deep state attempt by the Democrats, led by Hillary, to overthrow him. He needs to stop that. He needs to stop it, and stop it now. And you can still have your affections for Tribulation Trump, but he's got to stop lying to you, and you've got to stop supporting and prostituting and pimping that lie. That's number 1. Number 2, with respect to impeach or not to impeach, and I've made clear I'm not a Democrat. I've made that clear. I've told you that the Democrats have treated me, that black people have treated me worse than the Democrats have treated Trump. You need to understand that. And though my life is not hanging by a thread, there are people planning right this moment to shut our church down if possible. I need your help too, by the way. But Robert Mueller goes on to state in that 9-minute address he gave us that the reason why Trump was not indicted was not because he was innocent. It's not because he did not obstruct justice. It's not because there were not multiple actions of obstruct, but there is a Department of Justice policy, and whether it's constitutional or not, that you cannot indict a sitting president. So at that point, it appears that Robert Mueller had come up to the river's and water's edge, and he could go no further. But let him say that to you in his own words. Mr. Engineer, if you would roll for us the clip number 3.
It explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional. Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited. The special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by that department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider. The department's written opinion explaining the policy makes several important points that further informed our handling of the obstruction investigation. Those points are summarized in our report, and I will describe two of them for you. First, the opinion explicitly permits the investigation of a sitting president because it is important to preserve evidence while memories are fresh and documents available. Among other things, that evidence could be used if there were co-conspirators who could be charged now. And second, the opinion says that the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing. And beyond department policy, we were guided by principles of fairness. It would be unfair to potentially accuse somebody of a crime when there can be no court resolution of the actual charge. So that was Justice Department policy. Those were the principles under which we operated, and from them we concluded that we would not reach a determination, one way or the other, about whether the president committed a crime.
Effectively, what Mueller is saying is that he is prohibited by the Constitution from indicting a sitting president, that to make that kind of a move, or even to indict him secretly and preserve the indictment until after he has left office, is also unconstitutional. Going into this work and overseeing, no matter what he found, the most heinous crime or the most pure innocence, he could not indict a sitting president. It would have been unconstitutional. So in that respect, that needs to be absolutely clear of what happened, whether Mueller had any further abilities to move on this matter. But I'm going to ask the engineer to play clip number 2, which Mueller now states, though he's unable to indict, he also stated that he was unable to exonerate. And if there had been clear evidence that Trump had not obstructed justice, then he would have clearly said so. Mr. Engineer, roll clip number 2 that emphasizes that point.
And as set forth in the report, after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so.
Okay, so whether you support Mueller or whether you believe in him, Trump is saying that because they had a bad business deal regarding a golf club, a country club fees, and that Mueller wanted to be the director of the FBI and he was passed over, and Mueller is a Comey lover, and all of those things Trump is throwing out into the ether to try to muddy the waters. But the truth of the matter is that a month ago Trump said that Mueller was a great man, and that on the 24th of April, when the Mueller report came out and Barr gave that whitewash, he was praising Mueller. Now the tables have turned, if you will, and Trump's his ire against Mueller is probably unprecedented now because of such statements. But it's clear that Mueller says two things. One, he couldn't indict, and the other, he could not exonerate, because there was clear evidence that there was obstruction of justice. I want to also ask the engineer if he could bring up for us, as we wrap this matter up of whether to impeach or not to impeach, what should happen now if Mueller can't indict? Is the president above the law? Did he find criminal wrongdoings? And if he did not indict and could not indict, does the Constitution leave the president above the law? And perhaps this can be answered in a small clip, number 4, Mr. Engineer, to address that issue.
And I will close by reiterating the central allegation of our indictments, that there were multiple, systematic efforts to interfere in our election. And that allegation deserves the attention of every American. Thank you for being here today.
All right, so what do we have here? We have probably the most misinterpreted legal terms in the history of our nation, and that is high crimes and misdemeanors. The Congress, and only the Congress, can remove a president. The Congress and only the Congress can convict a president, not the Department of Justice, and there's a good reason why. Because you may have an attorney general, you may have a J. Edgar Hoover, you may have a person who hates the president and would have the power to use their office against the president the same way Attorney General Bill Barr is using the office of the Department of Justice to protect the president. So you don't leave it in the hands of one man, because one man could take down the president. So the founding fathers, Madison and all that crowd, Jefferson and everybody, Adams, they all discovered the best way to do is to hand this matter, if they feel there's a wrongdoing by the president, to hand it over to the Congress. And you'll have 525 persons who will then make a decision, and out of that would come a collective decision about the fate of the president. And so only the Congress, and the process by which the information can be processed and the hearings can be held is called an impeachment hearing. And the impeachment hearing, of course, would be all the evidence brought out. Now, if an impeachment is declared by Nancy Pelosi, no longer can Trump declare that his taxes cannot be seen. Immediately, they have to be released. The impeachment overrides any objection whatsoever. All of Trump's financial records, all of what Mueller knows, all the annotations, everything is then completely open instantly. It has to be revealed. There's no court action because the Congress then becomes the high court of the indictment process, and the Senate becomes the judgment of conviction and sentence. What should we do with Tribulation Trump? What is best for the nation? Should he be impeached or should he not be impeached? I stated to you my support of Tribulation Trump. I have come to deeply regret that decision. One of the worst decisions I've made in my life was to give my support, which I believe is sustained by Almighty God, to endorse Donald Trump. And after I did so, God told me he's not Donald Trump. He is the cause and the stir of the tribulation, one of the greatest events of devastation on planet Earth. And Trump is the head of that event. I bitterly repent for endorsing Tribulation Trump. Should he be impeached? My answer is yes. And the only reason why Nancy Pelosi and others are cautious about impeaching Trump is because they feel that, well, it may work to his advantage because the Trump supporters, they don't care what he's done. They don't matter that he's obstructed justice. It doesn't matter to them that he has supported dictators and that he bows down to Russia. That doesn't bother them. So you're not going to convince them that Trump has done wrong. But I'm of the mindset, and so politically they're thinking, well, to save our political hide, we better not approach him because his base may get stronger. His base is not going to get stronger, but it is a loathsome thought that the Democrats, who now have the power to impeach, will let this man get away with being above the law simply because they're worried about the next election. It is wrong. It is wrong before God. It is selfish. And it is tantamount, if not worse, than what Trump himself is doing. They're simply thinking about their own hides and their own political futures rather than the good of the nation, rather than the power of the Constitution, and rather than the will of the people. Tribulation Trump needs to be impeached. Now, some young girl stood up when Justin Amash was holding a town hall meeting up in Michigan a day or so ago and said an impeachment would separate this nation and could potentially create civil war. You know, Abraham Lincoln had to face that same decision. Abraham Lincoln could have said, just let them N-word people continue to be slaves. Let them darkies continue to do what, and let the white man in the South continue to profit from their labor, to persecute them, to castrate them, and to do whatsoever to make them without citizenship. Abraham Lincoln could have turned his back. In fact, many historians state that Abraham Lincoln said he was not calling for a civil war because he loved the darkies, but it was a constitutional issue that he was standing for. And a number of people opposed that, are African Americans or blacks or Negroes or coloreds, to this very day oppose Abraham Lincoln because they feel that he did not call the Civil War to separate or to set the slaves free. He did it for constitutional issues. And I'll say to Nancy Pelosi and to all the other Democrats, if you put your future elections above the constitutional validation of this nation and allow Tribulation Trump to continue to maraud, to lie, to thumb his nose at justice and create havoc and to worship dictators around the world, then you are worse than him. Trump needs to be impeached, and the impeachment needs to start today. As of this moment, Robert Mueller said in his 9-minute speech that the answer to this dilemma is not him. He has nothing further to say. The evidence is there. It is clear. Trump is a criminal. Trump is a con man. Trump is a degenerate. Trump is a sellout. He is a pathological liar and needs to be removed from office, is the essence of what Robert Mueller said. Now, what will happen? Well, I believe that impeachment process will go forward. And I also believe that once the information is laid out, some of Trump's people are going to stay with him no matter what. But once the information and the truth is laid out, as Steve Bannon has said about Trump, about his financial dealings, about his criminal activity, about how he has been a con man all his life, once that information is laid out, many of the people, at least 20% of the base of Trump supporters now, if it's at 42%, will leave him. They just will not stay. Trump, the reason why Trump is hiding his tax returns and hiding his financial dealings and hiding the information of the Mueller report is because Trump himself knows that even though he said if he stepped out on Fifth Avenue and shot someone, he would not lose anybody, Trump knows that his life is so dirty, his life is such a lie, that even the die-hard Trump supporters would not and could not stay with him. I make this statement today as one who the Democrats, of course, will be put in power, and if Trump is impeached, the Senate will vote to convict him and he'll be out of office, and the Democrats will get stronger power. Those same Democrats that will get stronger power by impeaching Trump will then have stronger powers to come after me, to potentially shut down our church, to influence members that I would love to be able to evangelize to become members of our church, to influence people who would bring their children to our school. These same Democrats would have the power, once they took Trump down, to also to affect our ministry in ways that could be very, very painful. So for me to say Democrats go forward with impeachment, in many ways I am saying that this will also affect me. I am a national figure. The media is very much aware, and politicians and Obama is very much aware of who I am and what I do. But rather than me hiding and being afraid of what the Democrats or the liberals or the LGBTQ people can do to me once they get power. And so therefore, I would trade that off and say, let Trump stay in power. Because potentially, Trump may throw me a bone. If I stop talking about him so much, he may throw me a bone. He may get businessman to help us with development of our school. He may help us to develop our building. He may help us to fight the foreclosure. He may throw me a bone if I turn around and started praising Trump he may just call up one of his New York friends and say, do some work over there for the good honorable Dr. Manning. Throw him a bone. Send him some money. Give him the mansions up on the Silver Springs up there and one of the counties up in Westchester, New York. You very well may do that. And if I would simply stay with him and say, don't impeach him. But my friends, I would have nothing left. I may gain the world, but I would lose my soul. I would lose my integrity. I sleep well at night. I've started a practice of getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning and praying, and I have to tell you, every morning it is a work to do because I'm sleeping so good. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world and to lose his soul and to lose his integrity? No, Trump needs to be impeached. And the impeachment is not going to solve the demonic problems of our nation. The Democrats are just as bad. In many ways, they're worse. But let's convict them when they commit a crime. But let not crime stand tall and boastful and arrogantly as the criminal activity of Tribulation Trump. It's time to impeach. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.